Welcome, everyone. Fammy fam, gooby goobers, all the silly names. Welcome to the next series. Just want to say I'm really proud of myself. I'm feeling really proud of myself for remembering to give back. I've been doing all these really cool new things. If you haven't already checked out the mung bean soup detox, it was a 7-day detox that I did. Amazing series, revelationary takeaways, insights, and inspirations that I know could really add value to your life if you feel called to it. So go check that out. And this next series that I'm diving into, it's funny, like right after that one, this next one kind of presented itself. And I wouldn't say it's really like a detox or a challenge, but more of a contemplation and a process of becoming more intimate and intentional with my inner artist, if you will, the artist child that is within all of us. And yeah, as I was coming off my detox, I ended up connecting with a friend of mine. His name is Joel Bine. Again, he's a podcast, the Joel Bine podcast. Awesome dude. Fellow artist, conductor, musician, composer, I believe, composer. But just a really good dude. And it's funny, I had heard of this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron from at least one person before Joel. But I always, same thing with a show or any type of media, before I consume anything, I'm trying to consume less and create more. However, sometimes the universe does send very clear things that are just like, hey, Connor, this is not just information. This is a structure you can follow, a framework to further unlock your creativity, right? So I think there's a big difference in discerning what's there to like pull us from our path, and then what's there to bring clarity and enhance our path. Sometimes we just like need some guardrails of some sort. So yeah, when Joel, again, I respect Joel so much as a person, and so whenever he suggests something, I listen. And so this particular one was The Artist's Way. I forget how we got to talking about it, but I think I was talking about the detox, and then I asked like what he'd been doing, if he'd been doing any kind of program or process, and he shared that he was doing The Artist's Way. And I was like, tell me more about that. And essentially he was just like, yeah, man, it's a process of, it's not just a book, where you're like unconsciously blowing through it from chapter to chapter and you never actually integrate any of it into your life, which is definitely a pattern that I've had. It's a program, like it's digestible. It's not by chapters, it's by week. So it's like week 1, this is what you need to know, this is why it's important, and this is how you implement it practically into your life. And I was like, cool, I'm down with that. That's specifically what I'm looking for right now. And yeah, so I looked it up, and it was one of those things where it just hit. There wasn't a lot of, I didn't have to think about it at all. And that's kind of been my strategy whenever these things present themselves. It's like, if I have to think about it, I have to contemplate it. Again, sometimes there are things where I have emotional waves and I want the emotions to settle, but it's more the emotional piece for me. So like whenever I'm introduced to something and the waves aren't rattled at all, then, and it's just very peaceful, my emotions are just kind of here. And then I can just sink down right into that knowing. That's how I felt with The Artist's Way. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the next thing. Let's do it. So I immediately got the recording on audio, on the audiobook, on Audible. Sorry. I got the audiobook on Audible. And Joe recommends to get the book. Again, I think you can do it effectively with or without the book. Some people like to be able to write immediately in the book because they have certain set of tasks and things like that. The only downside with the audiobook is, again, you have to just, for me, it's good because I like to even write the questions out. So basically for me, I have a journal. Sometimes I'll journal things. And then I have a Google Doc where I type out the questions, and then that's where I do like my weekly tasks and things like that. And so today I'm going to talk to you about my experience from week 1. And what a week it has been so far. It's also been combined with my birthday. Actually, no, my birthday was the previous week. It's been combined with the Lionsgate. So again, it's a big like spiritual astrological phenomena where it's a very, very powerful time for manifestation, whether you believe in it or not. I'm here to take all the cosmic God goodness manifestation power I possibly could. And there's definitely some like egoic significance that I'm a Leo and stuff like that. And that it was around my birthday, so I eat it up, man. And if that's a wave in the natural flow of things, I'm gonna catch that wave. Why not? Regardless, I was feeling inspired. So what I did was, again, I just got the Audible audiobook, and one of the first things that they prompt you to do, which I absolutely love, is a ritual called morning pages. And that's essentially when you wake up every morning, and before you dive into any programming at all, whether it's in social media, whether it's going to a job, whether it's working on a project that you're working on, before you dive into any particular program or process or anything, you just take your journal and you take your ethereal thoughts, whatever they may be at the time, they come through your arm, and you write them down in the form of words. And they may seem kind of simple, like, oh yeah, Connor, journaling, yay. But if you haven't done this, if you haven't just journaled and just let your thoughts pour onto a page, what you'll notice, or what I noticed, was that as I started writing, I allowed all of the raw, what people could label as negative emotions or negative thoughts, what we don't want, what we fear, what's not true for us in our path, seems to just kind of fall out first. It's almost like it's this consciousness filter. Like we're running our thoughts through this filter of consciousness. Because again, I operate from a big part of the belief that our beliefs orchestrate our relationship with things and how we decide things and how we take action on things and what we speak into existence, and that can create our reality. Words create worlds. And so what I've seen is, as I'm writing these things on the paper, it kind of will start off as maybe some things that just make absolutely no sense. Or maybe it's me, like a version of me wanting it, the old version of me wanting it to make sense. And then I let myself to just loosen up a little bit. And I notice the patterns in my writing. Because the patterns in the writing will also show up as like patterns in your life. And sometimes it's the very ones that you want to break. the ones that you don't want anymore. And so you notice these things, especially if you're writing them day after day. But as I write more and more, I stop using the same words. I stop using the same patterns. I stop using the same just ways of thinking, you know? Again, the negative thinking, the victim thinking, the effects of like things that leave me powerless. And so once those are all cleared, my language, then my writing starts to shift into something that's more at cause, something that's not reactive but responsive, something that's intentional. I then start to shift to what I do want. So if I'm first writing about like, oh, all these things that happened yesterday or that are happening in my life that aren't ideal, again, I'm not just waking up and reacting to those things and then living out my day in reaction to the things that I don't want. Instead, I'm just objectively acknowledging those things lovingly, unconditionally. And then once they're said and once I get them out, again, it's also you're feeling those things too. You're just allowing those things to be either felt in the body and they're going through your body and they're being written and they're being seen. Again, it's like a child who's just wanting to be seen and heard, and then they're banging at your leg, and then finally you just give them, you're just like, oh, hey, I see you. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to you. And so you're just giving those words a platform to be expressed. And then from there, what I see the shift is literally what songwriting is, right? Songs usually they'll start out like it's an alchemization process. You're alchemizing one state of being to another. Typically, you can notice songs they'll start off in kind of this like melancholy type thing, or again a reality that isn't ideal, and then the chorus will be like that catalyst, that breakthrough, and on the other side of it you'll end and you'll write a bridge right into just this more flowy jam, this new state of being that's way more in flow and way more natural. And so that's kind of what happens with these morning pages in the stream of consciousness. They'll start to change into more empowering words, proactive words, intentional words. And I hear the dogs in the background barking for no reason. I'm noticing myself judging the quality of this video just because there's a dog in the background. Maybe you don't hear them at all because I have noise reduction turned on. But anyway, they're a blessing. So yeah, it's just been invaluable. And if you'd like to see an example of that, I had posted several on my Instagram. And I've read what I've written because they just felt really important to read and share. But yeah, so that's morning pages. And then the cool thing about this is it's not overwhelming, this process of the artist's way. It's an invitation for one to, first of all, get conscious of their identity, their relationship with what it means to be an artist. I noticed like when I was a kid, I didn't even have a name for it. I just did what I loved. And then society kind of like told me and showed me what it means to be an artist. And then it was like, Connor, this is what you're here to be. You're not here to be an artist. You're here to be like a doctor or, you know, like all these different things in the system, all these different roles and titles. And so this is kind of a process of unlearning what life is, what society has told you an artist is. And we get to come back to, well, being an artist means to us. And week 1 focuses specifically on recovering a sense of safety in being an artist. So a couple of notes that I wrote down were when Julia says, many artists carry an either-or reasoning that stands out between them and their work, or that stands between them and their work. So she just uncovered common beliefs around like, oh, I can either be successful or I can be an artist. I can't be both. I can't be an artist and be successful. And so she went through a list of these common beliefs and then the reframe of that. It's absolutely possible to be more successful than the previous belief. I'm actually more successful when embracing my artist, when I am an artist. Because it is the most valuable thing I could possibly bring to the world. Even if I made millions of dollars just filling a void in the system, doesn't even compare to the value that I could give the world and the monetary thing I could receive by embracing my unique gifts and my unique artistry. So yeah, so she just goes through like a lot of reframes and reprogramming around what it means to be an artist. The next thing it says, to remove resistance, we must recognize and flip, again, the either or thinking, which is what I gave an example on. The next thing she recommends is creating your own artist affirmations. And she also provides some. I think there's a lot of fluff around affirmations. But I think when you really, really embody them and you put them into practice, like you go through them like at night before you go to sleep. Again, when you're sinking into these theta waves and your subconscious is really open to receiving new ideas and new vibrations and new beliefs, and in the morning. And so the ones that she shared were really profound. And I think affirmations are effective when you actually run them through your entire being. So not just speak them through the mind and like going through them like they're a chore. I mean like moving around a little bit, like turning on some like really empowering frequencies. You can type in like healing frequencies into Spotify or YouTube or something. And it's like a meditation. And you are speaking from like your lower energy centers and from the earth. You're really, really anchoring that in as an affirmation. And so the ones that she shared are really profound that I want to share now are as follows. I am a channel for God's creativity, and my work comes to good. My dreams come from God, and God has the power to accomplish them. My creativity heals myself and others. There was a divine plan of goodness for me. There was a divine plan of goodness for my work, for my art, for the maturity of my art into my craft. I am willing to create every single day. I am willing to learn to let myself create, to allow myself to create, just as I'm doing now with this video. I could have not created this today. I could have not created the space for me to do this today. And of course, I had a little bit of resistance, but I'm here and I pressed record and I'm doing it anyway. So I'm willing to learn to allow myself to create and share and be of service and give value. And then lastly, I am willing to let God create through me. I'm willing to let God create through me. I'm willing to let God heal through me. And so the task that so the cool thing about this is, again, it's a week long. It's very, very short, like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, the what and the why, and then describing the how. And it's not like a daily thing. I have a whole week to go through this, really, really anchor it in, and then to integrate it into my life, into my way of being through a set of tasks. So one task was the morning pages, which I've done. And I want to do today's too before I go to sleep. So sometimes morning pages, sometimes I've done it in the afternoons and in the evenings. And the tasks that they task you with for week one is taking yourself on an artist date. And it's funny because I feel like I've been doing this even before I started reading this book. And so what I did was I wrote a list of different ways I can do that. And so I look forward to doing this every single week. Because again, you're just, what are you doing? You're building a relationship with the artist child. And it speaks to, again, like the artist is the child that never grew up. I forget who quoted that. It wasn't Julia in the book. Someone quotes that, and it's so true. The artist is the child that never grew up, that never like fell into the conditioning of what you should be. And so it's funny, the artist dates are kind of just becoming my everyday reality, which is what God intended from the very beginning. So, but I wrote down a list of different dates that I could take myself on. One was like doing street interviews. And again, these are just different ways I can share love with the world. That's kind of how I see it. Different ways that I can be of service and bring people back to presence and bring people back to love and back to their childlike wonder and curiosity and expression. So for me, it's like doing street interviews, just going out on the streets and asking people, hey, what's something that they loved to do when they were younger? And how long has it been since they've done that? And then actually just going to do that thing, maybe like paying for them to do that thing. It could be very simple, but like going on we're going on that date with their inner child together. And typically it's always something that my inner child enjoys as well. So be on the lookout for that series. I'm going to start doing that series. The next is busking. So just going out and like singing in public, dancing in public, going to concerts. And I love doing this all the time. I'll go to a concert, I'll go to a Broadway show, going to art galleries and exhibits, theme parks. I went to Six Flags in San Antonio a few weeks ago with my previous partner, and we're still really good friends. And while we were in our childlike wonder, we manifested a free trip to Hawaii, which was amazing because literally not even a few days prior, we were tapping into that same energy of what our child would want to do. It felt like we were just working so much. And they wanted to go to like they wanted to go on a trip, on a vacation, they wanted to go on a coastal getaway, a tropical coastal getaway. And days later, again, syncing and honoring that artist, that child, that play, it's all synonymous. Being in that vibration, we then attracted exactly that. So water parks. I love going to water parks when I was a kid. Go-karting, going to trampoline parks, ninja obstacle courses, going to see movies, making pottery, painting, photo shoots, songwriting in nature, dancing in public, going into a dancing class, putting on my own dancing class, which I'm doing in a few weeks, going to the spring, going into nature. These are different dates that I took myself on. And the next one is called time travel. It says list 3 enemies of your creative self-worth. And so it's just becoming aware of those that drift us from our creative truth. And so for me in the past, again, this is just, again, objective, like become objectively witnessing these things that cause drift. Because if they're unconscious, we're unconscious to them, then we can fall victim to them. And so this is just bringing loving awareness to these things. And for me, it's been marketing gurus in the past who are just like, again, while they've seen a level and a version of success, they just always have told me to go find a void, find a void in the market, like a big need in the market. And typically a lot of them are driven off survival. They're like, go find a need and go fill it in the market. And then hustle. And while that is effective to meet your own needs in certain ways, it'll only take you so far. What every entrepreneur finds eventually, or whatever like hard working professional eventually finds, is you can meet all the needs of like survival and your basic needs of food and shelter. But once you meet those needs, eventually there are other needs of belonging and purpose and things like that. And those aren't going to be met through just making money and just filling voids in markets. There comes a time when you realize that you're here for something greater. You have a specific purpose, and it only shines through your unique expression, your art. And I see art as the alchemy, the alchemy resonance of truth, like the alchemizing resonance of truth. Alchemy resonating truth out into the world. And so anyway, it's listing the 3 enemies of that. For me, it's been these marketing gurus. Again, my parents, even though I love them so much, they're obviously a massive influence, right? They're like the people we spend the most time with at the beginning of our lives when we're developing. Some people had parents where they had a lot of clarity and they weren't in those frame of minds, and those who were, again, they're doing the best they could with what they had at the time, right? And you still feel the love through your parents. You still feel the good intention, right? But objectively, that's what I had as a model when I was younger. So just becoming aware of those things and not continuously falling a victim to the pattern, to the projections all around me. Again, obviously the media all around me, things like that, advertisements, big pharma, the deep state, all these like, theys around us. The school teachers and the school system, that was number 3 for me. Sometimes people will name like specific names. It was more archetypes for me. I like to speak more in archetypes. Then it's listing the 3 old champions of your creative self-worth. So over here, I'd also like to give credit to my parents because they also were my champions in many ways creatively. Like I said, their heart and everything was still there. So they still encouraged me to sing. My mother encouraged me to join choir when I was young and to sing my heart out. and to play sports and to have an artistic piece in my life, to feel a connection to nature, going to Boy Scouts. They still encourage me to do that. So I want to thank them for that as well and honor them for that. The other champions were other musicians that I admired, dancers, Soul Family. Specifically when I came to Austin, when I was traveling the world, other people who I encountered who just showed me what else was possible, like when you are just deeply in service and doing what you love. And that it was possible to not only have safety and security and meet my basic needs, but that again, the most value I could possibly provide to the world is my truth, and is further exploring. Even if I didn't know what it was when I first saw it in those other people, all that I knew is that it was possible and that it was worth exploring more. And it was worth honoring that little by little, like one droplet at a time. And it's almost like, again, the whole metaphor, we're remembering that we're an ocean, that we are the ocean of life. And we are the ocean and we are the droplets that make up the ocean. And so it's like I was the ocean tapping into all the droplets that make me, me. And yeah, and so again, the Soul Family here in Austin, Texas, the past 3 years, I owe them so much, and also I owe them nothing, because again, they're just the unconditionally loving family who constantly was seeing me where I was, but also seeing the brightest of lights inside of me, because they were embodied in it, in their own version of that, their own version of what it means to be an artist. And it was cool. It was also cool. Like, it had the cool factor of being an artist in Austin. It's like, yeah, you go to Austin to be, to be like, not specifically to be a hippie, but just to like explore what it might mean to you to be just like someone who doesn't give a fuck about money and just wants to express themselves, like just wants to be in like their feminine flow and be in nature and all that. So I'm just, and then I also met plenty of people who were fully integrated in all the things, who were in their purpose. They had their badass business, like built off their gifts and things like that. So I had the spectrum of all these amazing models and people in my life that kept showing me what was possible. Kept again, I really think that belief is just this process of us, like, we believe something until we have enough evidence and integrity within ourselves that we know it is truth, as truth. And so now I really am coming to that place of like knowing what's true in me and knowing what's wanting to be spoken and expressed, and just actually creating. I'm believing in myself enough to create the space for me to express that truth consistently. I've made it possible for myself. I've created the resources enough for me to honor that truth and to express it on a consistent basis. I've made enough money and I'm giving enough value in the world, but I'm not sacrificing the time that I need to be of service in the way that I know best, in the way that I'm being called to, in a way that I don't fully understand, big picture. But I just know in this moment it's so important to be sharing this with you right now. So the last task was imaginary lives. That's what they called it. And so the first part of this is, if you have 5 lives to lead, what would you do in each of them? And the point of this is to have fun. Again, to tap into that childlike fun, curiosity, play, artistic expression, and to take your artist on a walk. So I went on a beautiful walk. The cool thing is it's super hot here in Texas. And for all the reasons I wanted to avoid being in Texas during the summer, during this time, but now I see the advantages of it. Because again, the sun, there's something about the sun. And again, they say that your solar plexus is like your energy center. It's your creative center. And it makes sense because whenever I'm like really pumped for something, my core is strong and I feel the fire in my belly. It's where that phrase comes from. And so when I go on these artist walks, the sun just bathes. It just soaks me. And it kind of just cleanses all the distortions and it clears the things out, and all that's left, I'll close my eyes and sometimes just like let it, I'll even see the light just kind of clear out all the gunk. And my aura, I just feel more balanced. The energy field around me. So the walks are amazing. And then I got clarity on these 5 kind of lives that I know to be possible, like just in this one lifetime. And the first one is being this Broadway star. I've always, where I'm in my highest joy is when I'm at a Broadway show. And I always see myself on stage. I even have had chapters of performing, singing and dancing on stage in high school. We had this end of the year show called Peach Jam. Highest joys. Second is famous musician. Kind of similar, but being a famous musician, touring the world, going to festivals, like performing at festivals, having my own curated the animals are outside. I don't remember letting them outside. But having my own show, I went to a show recently. His name is Jacob Collier. If you don't know him, he's an absolute brilliant man. He's my age, around 30. I think he just turned 30. And he can just play like a million instruments. His music theory is off the charts. And he's really young. People compare him to like Mozart and stuff like that, a prodigy. But what I noticed when I went to his show was that just the curation. He literally brought in like trees on stage and all these colored lights. And it was a freaking experience. It was so inspiring. And he also does this thing called audience choir, where he'll have all the different sections of the audience singing different notes and everyone harmonized together, which I know what I'm going to be doing at my shows too. So I want to be a famous musician. I want to have my own curated experiences like that. Next is a famous dancer. I want to reach a proficiency in dance and movement, in Zouk dance, in different Latin dances. Being a shaman or a monk, going to train, like, I've built and developed a relationship with these sacred plant medicines. And I'd love to go to different cultures, like both in my ancestry. I feel like there's a deeper connection I could feel with my ancestors and a lot of wisdom that I could tap into through these plant medicines and these shamanic practices, or even just like monks, or being like a Shaolin warrior in the Chinese mountains or something, and tapping into a lineage of martial arts. And so the next one was a martial arts master. And so I know like 1 year I'm going to devote myself to just going off the charts and training in one of these martial arts, and doing a fellowship, I think is what they call them, and having like my own master and I'm the student. I know that's a chapter in my life. And then the last one is just like a travel vlogger, going across the world and telling my stories. I really have a deep drive to travel to other cultures all around the world and learn how they connect to God, whether it's singing, dancing, storytelling. And and telling those stories in a really beautiful way, in a really cinematic way that really, really reaches people. And yeah, I know that's all possible in this lifetime. But those are like kind of the big archetypes that I feel really called to. And so it just felt really good to write that down and get really clear on that. Because then I know I can kind of calibrate, I can feel into each one. And without it feeling overwhelming, I can be like, which one is most true for me right now? Which one is most calling to what? Like, where is God? The fly. Where is God looking to create through me right now? Who is God wanting me to be right now? Is he wanting me to be the martial arts master, or be the famous musician, or being like a worship leader at a church? That was another one that came through that was really powerful. Which one is most true in my heart right now? And I can just literally put it on a spectrum of 1 to 10 on a resonance score. Which one? I just ask God, which one is best for me right now? And some of these kind of interweave, but the ones that are really important right now are the ones where it's like it's being a worship leader. It's bringing the vibration of holiness and truth back to people's lives, and faith and art. Like really bringing people back to this idea of like the law of one, and that we're just here to share love in our unique way, in our unique expression. And I believe that is what our art is. So that's why I believe that's the most important thing right now that God is calling me to. And there's so many different ways that's going to be expressed in the future. But I know it's through worship, and the way of worshiping is storytelling through the voice and through our bodies. So singing, dancing, and storytelling, and bringing people together. And so the way that I'm doing that right now in this moment, the way that I know to do that right now is bringing people together on a weekly basis in a virtual call that I call Honor Your Art. And it's the Honor Your Art community. And so if you see this in the comments below, or if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I'd like to invite you to join our Telegram community. And so it's not just a Telegram community. You'll see the link in the description below on how to join our free community. And then you can give, if you get value to it, if you come to one of our calls and you get significant value from it, then you have the option of donating if you want. But I created this as a space for you to honor your art. When we go through this process of like morning pages and the artist's way together, and we come together and everyone gets a platform to share share the thing that's most alive in them and that they've always wanted to do, but for whatever reason they haven't honored it. We're here also to honor the things that have caused us to drift and to just acknowledge them objectively. So again, we become conscious of them so we can then shift to what we do want, and then what you need to be supported to make that a reality. That's why I've created this space. We're also I'm going to do little workshops. I'm going to do like presence exercises, bringing us to presence, helping us connect with our art, our truthful expression, activating our voices, getting in our bodies. And so we start off the week. The reason I have them on Mondays is so that we start off the week in that vibration of truth, the vibration of our art. So that we don't immediately start off our week in a reactive way and continue the patterns that are no longer serving our highest truth. What God is calling forth, is calling to the forefront. These things that we're here to bring have always been kind of in the background, it's time to call them forth. And this is a platform where you can feel vulnerable and safe to do that. We have a set of agreements that I've set that I needed for me to feel fully safe to express all the parts of me, so that I could finally honor my truth and finally bring my art to life. So if this resonates with you even a little bit, we'd love to see you on Mondays. We'd love to see you in the Telegram group. Go ahead and fill out the survey as well once you first join. It'll tell us a little bit about, again, what your current artist journey is like right now, what challenges you've been facing, and what your artist vision is. Maybe you've never explored that. It's a powerful process to start exploring that. Get the Artist Way book. Do whatever you need to do to honor the artist within, to honor the child within. All right? We're here as a community to support you in whatever you need to do that. All right? Well, this has been an absolute amazing video, amazing thing to share with you in week 1 of the Artist Way. And I miss you many blessings whenever you're watching this. And yeah, I love you very much. I love you, your artist, the artist child within you. I love you for exactly who you are right now and where you are. And again, we're here to love you exactly where you are in your journey. All right. Many blessings. Mwah. Have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, day, whatever it is, whenever you are existing in life right now. Take care.